Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to. Come on. I like that part in the little video. The guy says, "Come on." I love it.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Welcome to Get Book Solid, everybody. Tuesday. What's up, everybody? We got David Meltzer in the house and Lacey Book. David, all the way out there in the California studio, on your way to Augusta, Georgia today.
Yes, 30-some years of going to Augusta, Georgia for the Like None Other event. It never disappoints. Almost every other sporting event will disappoint once in a while, but not the Masters.
Tell us your favorite in 30 years, your favorite Masters story.
They did a special, the Masters of Giving, and I was representing Lee Elder at the time, who's the first African-American to play in the Masters, who got death threats at the time. And they brought a gentleman from Boston. CBS covered this whole thing. They brought a gentleman that was dying. And I hosted him, paid for him to come down, paid for his badges, got him to meet Lee Elder. And we got to walk, the CBS News crew was with us. And then we got to walk together, and it was probably one of the most moving things to see how grateful and how meaningful a sporting event could be to someone that dreamed of going. And for this guy, I got to meet Jim Furyk, Lee Elder, got to meet Warren Moon, got to meet Chris Carter. All the celebrities, once they found out, they all came out to wish this guy well. And it was the last trip that this gentleman got to take as well. So he got to complete his bucket list.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
Hanging out at the tavern with you. So
we're going to the tavern again.
Thursday, Thursday, the tavern. But this, you and all my family hanging out with at the tavern. So Miles is going, Mia, Marissa, and Marlena. She's in Monte Carlo, so she has a good excuse. So it should be awesome. But it's so nice that I'm to a point in my career where I can hang out with my family while I'm doing all these other activities with Tim Story and Josh Luber and Shawn Dill and his friends and my old friends, the BGA from the PGA, Big Al and Virgil Herring. There's so many different people coming. John Daly's going to stop by. Top Golf, we're doing an event there. So, it's going to be a fun-packed activities.
What I think is interesting about the Masters, now, disclaimer, I haven't been, but from everything that I've seen, the Masters is like one of the only sporting events that's really kept true to its like identity and the things that they have at its core, right? And I think that that's interesting watching the Super Bowl and all these other things, these big events evolve so much with the times, like the Masters, even like down to the food, right? You can still get all of the things that they were serving years and years and years ago at the same price point. I mean, that's just fascinating to me how they've done that. And it is. It's like $1.50 for like a hot dog. You can't get that anywhere in the United States.
They're making up for it just fine in tickets and merchandise.
But I mean, I'm talking about the experience once you're in, right? Isn't it similar to what they've always done?
Yeah, very, very similar. And the best is it's the marketing, right? The ability that they have no electronics in there, no scoreboards. There's no hospitality. It's an old school board where they put it up with their hands. So, I think that's what makes it just so unique. And there is a frequency because there's none of that in there. Mm-hmm. There is absolutely, and I'm sure Shawn can explain it as well. The first time, especially you walk it, if you're an empath, if you know energy, there's a frequency that brings you to tears or brings great joy. I mean, every year I say, you know what? I don't need to go in. I've been 35 years or whatever. I don't need to go in. And then I always go in. And the minute I step in, I remember that energy. And it's just like none other. And the merchandise is like the male Tiffany's. People line up to spend thousands and thousands of dollars.
I think that's a lot of what we talked about this weekend at Culture Club, which was the event that we had, was really about like being intentional about the energy and experience that you create for your business, your team, and your customers. And Masters has definitely done a good job of that.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I know that at least the three of us in personal conversations have brainstormed, masterminded a lot about developing, creating the perfect team. It's interesting because being an entrepreneur, crossover into your previous experience in sports and being a general manager of an athletic team are very similar. If I was putting together a basketball team, obviously I can't have 5 people that are 6'2". 5 guards aren't going to work. I need various skill sets and physical attributes, but arguably the most important element is the chemistry, the culture of the team. I love talking about, and it was interesting. I actually met somebody who went to college with Antonio Brown. So you look at, Mike Tomlin, one of my favorite coaches, and having Antonio in that locker room and realizing, and I'm not saying Antonio's a bad guy, but realizing that he wasn't a good fit, cutting Antonio basically at his prime. Everybody thought that was absolutely insane. It was a bold move. And then later we get to see how problematic Antonio was in other locker rooms. The problem was not his ability on the field. The problem was the chemistry amongst the other people. So this weekend at Culture Club, we actually discussed how so many people in the coaching, consulting, and entrepreneurial space talk so much about ideal client. And so many of us invest so much time trying to figure out our avatar, who we do our best work with as a client. But you know what? Very infrequently do people talk about ideal employee, where we actually have a acute and in-depth understanding of the person with whom not only we as the primary or as the business owner do our best work, but also our team, who they do their best work.
A good fit for the culture.
And then our clients, who they do their best work with. And then you mentioned energy. So I would love to hear some of your thoughts on moving beyond skill set in selecting somebody to be a part of our teams.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Skill set is a basement, and you want to pick and choose people that have a high enough basement that if they have the correct culture, it would create the great delta that you're looking for, the biggest change, progress that you can make. There's no perfection in picking anything in your life as far as personalities goes. There's no perfection, but you want to maximize the progress, and the skills are the basement of that. And same with the knowledge. There's certain amount of knowledge of who and what that provide a greater starting point for people around us, friends, family, associates, employees, customers, clients. And the energy of it is really important, especially if you utilize the paradigm that I do, that it's interfering with our potential. And so is this person interfering with our potential? A. Brown was interfering with the potential. And I know Mike Tomlin had discussions with him, and Bobby Ross was another coach like Mike Tomlin, old school coach, and Belichick as well, that they won't take certain individuals. And this is where I came up with my philosophy about it's not the 5 people you spend the most time with that will determine your bank account, that's bullshit. It is the teams you play on and the position that you play according to subject matter, topic, or expertise. So if you're looking at clients, associates, partners, etc., these are different teams that you're playing on, and you're going to take a position, but you're also going to fill the other positions. Like you said, not all with people that are just like you, or not all 6'2" guards, but instead being cognizant of the fact that, hey, is this person interfering with that culture, that energy, that frequency, that neighborhood? And when you look at things in this direction, it doesn't matter. There's no avatars that are necessary, because they're attracting the spheres of influence that are necessary. So the individual that you have, it's not necessarily exactly this avatar. It's, do you know anyone that can help me? And do you fit in to maximizing the momentum, the energy, the frequency, and building the neighborhood of people that are going to help each other and know people that help each other.
Well, and I think that is important because a business that's got momentum, the last thing that you want to do is infuse something that will, like you said, interfere with that momentum. And so many times I see when it comes to our human resource, that's probably one of the most reactive things that I see business owners do, right? A lot of times they are intentional and they plan out their marketing strategy. They're intentional about their sales strategy, the content that they're going to put out, where they're going to travel to, how they're going to invest in their skill set. Then when it comes to like hiring team, there's no like plan, right? Like most people are like, oh my God, I need somebody. Like they're very reactive. And then it doesn't give them the opportunity to choose wisely that perfect fit for the culture that keeps the momentum going. They choose out of need and necessity in the moment, which oftentimes causes you to choose the wrong people, right? And so instead of being proactive and figuring out when should I really start looking for that right person, even if I'm not ready, even if financially it's not a perfect fit in that moment, I want to like have a plan to find them. And it never is that way with human resource. It's such a reactive business like component of the model. And it's so bad because one person can literally make or break your momentum.
Yeah. And history will prove that again and again. And
yes,
the other more difficult nuance, and we've had a discussion about this, Shawn, you and I especially, is that the business changes and people's energy changes, their situations change. And so you may take an individual that just graduated college and they had a certain place and energy and frequency about and fit perfectly into the culture. And then as they mature and the business changes, we progress in different directions. We may separate it and the frequency may not fit anymore, or it may just elevate their true frequency. And so one of the most difficult things about this culture club that you guys have created and the ideas of bringing in frequency and neighborhood and culture is how to get rid of somebody that no longer serves the culture. And we can see and hire people, and so many people have said you hire slow and fire fast. I think that's where that philosophy comes from, is that do you have the nerve to fire fast when somebody obviously doesn't fit into the culture? And then it becomes even more complex if their capability, their skills and knowledge are high. Like for example, Mike Tomlin. How difficult was it to give up the number one receiver in his prime? Right. That's a really difficult business decision. And, I look at that all the time. I have a couple of A Browns in my past that have worked for me, and I didn't have the, excuse my language, the balls to fire them. And all it did was cost me in the long run. Things happen slowly, then all of a sudden, and that's one of the things that happened very slowly, and all of a sudden ruining your culture.
You guys bring up two interesting points. So go ahead, because I'm going to go to.
Okay. Well, no, the only thing I was going to say
stadium.
is I have seen like online people, talk about like and bash business owners for, they can't keep people for very long. Right. And I think about that and I'm like, man, but if you're an entrepreneur and you, like what Dave was saying, if you are intentionally trying to evolve your business and grow and shift and change, the reality of it is that when you hire people in one season and then you evolve from that season, most of the time your employees don't evolve with you, because it's just like a relationship, right? And so I think actually a good business does shift and change its key players if it's trying to change what it's doing and impact the world in a different way.
Well, not only that, not only that, but also John Calipari can't keep his players very long. It's not because he's evolving; it's that he's so good
they evolve
that they're going to the next level.
Yes,
yeah, and he's so good at recruiting, right? He's elevated his recruiting to get people at such a high basement that they're already prepared for the next level, and he's just lucky to get them for a year, which may change with the portal, by the way, and of course NIL. So, they're just going for the money. I want to point out two things. One, Lacey, I want to remind everyone, when Lacey said, well, so many business owners bash you for blank, I just want to tell everyone, who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Because most of the people that bash me for blank, other business owners, They don't have the business I have. They don't have the acumen I have. They don't have the money I have. They don't have the relationships I have. So I always say, if somebody's bashing me, quote unquote, constructively criticizing me, look to see where they're coming from.
Right.
You know, it's like the fan in Philly that's sitting there saying Saquon sucks. You know, the guy weighs like 340 pounds, sucking down a bratwurst and drinking 6 beers. Like, who the hell cares what that guy thinks?
Yeah.
What does he know? Like, do you want his opinion? So I think that's a big part of it, though. We're afraid what other people are going to think internally and externally when we make a decision that we know is best for our culture, for our
Right.
energy and our frequency. And that's a big inhibitor. So many people are worried about what family and friends and other business owners are going to say because they stopped that business unit and they told everyone how successful that's going to be. And now it's not. My own wife last night said to me, we were talking about, I did a children's book with Eric Carle did Brown Bear. And, you know, we're working with the TV show with Rory, with Go Fund Yourself. And, you know, all these big networks are interested. And she's like, it's always, you know, hurry up and wait. These deals never happen. I go, that's not true. So, some of the deals happen, the majority don't. And that's a good thing. And so, you know, if you're not willing, she goes, yeah, but I get so excited when you tell me about this movie or this TV show, or, you know, and she goes, I get so excited and then it doesn't happen. Of course, but it's not a failure just because it doesn't happen, right? I see it as an investment, learning, so that the other things that do happen are because I learn from what doesn't happen.
True.
And that's true with employees as well.
Yeah.
So much there today. Good show today. I want to turn us right turn here, right on red, because you guys talked about energy, frequency. Also, you brought up the concept of momentum. First of all, just to get us on the same page, when we talk about momentum, obviously there's the physics principle of momentum, but in life, you know, I grew up my young adult life in Costa Rica. At that time, that was the home of internet sports gambling. All the internet sports gambling moved offshore. All of my neighbors were sports gambling bookies. And I learned a lot about that industry. But one of the things that I find is interesting, and I see this in basically all elements of gambling, Vegas gambling, is the concept of momentum. For whatever reason, there's times when everything seems to be going our way, and there's times when you just seem to lose every hand. If anybody watched the basketball game last night, Houston had the momentum the whole game. And then all of a sudden, for a little window, when it counted most, that's when Florida had the momentum and they won. The idea is that, look, we probably, and to your point, Dave, are going to lose, and I'm going to say lose only from a gambling sense, but the deals don't happen more often than the deals do happen. The key to winning, to net winning, is the deals that do happen were at a larger scale than the deals that didn't happen. So if I've won 10 hands but lost 12, but on the 10 hands, I was betting 75, and on the 12 hands, I was betting 50, I come out ahead. The concept is reading that momentum. On the other side, you have energy and frequency and elevation of energy and frequency. So we have this weird tangled knot where we are entering into relationships with employees, other relationships, etc., and we're all trying to hopefully elevate our frequency. We may elevate our frequency beyond others, and then that would cause them to drop off, fall away, or maybe if it was a business, need to be fired, eliminate that relationship. They may elevate their frequency. But at the same time, there's this concept of momentum. So I'd love to understand from the two of you how I can begin to reconcile this concept. Like, I don't want to live my life this flat. Like, obviously I want to, and I want to try and live it like that, but it doesn't go like that. It goes like this. And inside those ups and downs, I'm also juggling all of the energetic frequencies and elevations and decelerations of energy in these other people. So when you talk about the masters, that is an energetic frequency that just stays the same because it's a place. But then we start filling it with people. We could fill it with a bunch of ruckus people that were drunk, and we could bring the total energy down. Or we could fill it with reverent people that are like, wow, and a tear comes to their eye and the total energy goes up. How do we begin to navigate and manage this when it comes to relationships with friends, lovers, employees, etc.?
Yeah, I came up with this picture, which is the 1,000 steps, and it's exactly what you're talking about. And how many times did Michael Jordan say, "I didn't lose; the game was just a minute too short or too long. And inside of that, your business may just have been a day too short, a week too short or long, a month, a year, or maybe a lifetime. You talked about relationships, right? These relationships may just be a lifetime too short or a lifetime too long. And when we look at things in 1,000 steps, it's really important to understand that the steps, like you said, some are higher, some are lower, some are slippery, some are dirty, some are broken, some are icy, some whatever they are. Sometimes you have to take 4 steps backwards to go 6 steps forward. And so within the context of 1,000 steps, the biggest thing to understand is time. That it's going to take 90% of the effort, the money, value, emotion, 90% of everything you have in whatever amount of time it is that it would take, whether it's a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, or a lifetime. And so we will never know how long it's going to take. That's what being human is. We don't know anything but linear time. We don't understand infinite time. So if we are aligning the energetic side of things, momentum occurs by understanding that if we have an objective, a goal, winning the national championship, how many teams were a week short? How many teams were 2 weeks short? How many teams were 2 months short this season? So for this, I think the best perspective to have as far as momentum is, if I'm in a definite purpose that I want to win the national championship, or I want to make over 1 billion people happy, that I don't know how much time, but I know 90% of my effort of everything I have will get me to 25% of the way there. And so I know that's how the math works. And so I'm willing to keep on working, even though I lost, even though the time ran out, or there was too much time and I ended up losing because there was too much time. And so looking at things in this perspective really helps me to continue to enjoy the ups, the downs, the sideways, the slips, the falls, the backwards, in the consistent, everyday, persistent, without quit pursuit of that potential.
Just real quick, I need you to clarify, because I've heard you talk about it, but you left us hanging there. 90% of the effort will get you 25% of the way. So that sounds bad. What happens to the other 10 and
yeah, sorry, I say this so much, I forgot the most important part, because most people quit before they get there. Right? Most people quit before they get there. So it's only less than 5% to get to 50% of the way there. And then it's only less than 5% to get to 100%. Then it's only less than 5% to get to 200, 400, and 800. And it keeps building upon itself. So that's the really important part. That's why we don't quit. There's always the lack of commitment that will stop us from getting to where we want to be. It won't be the mistakes, the falls, the setbacks, the 6 steps back to go 8 steps forward. That'll never stop us from getting there. That actually helps us, like we just discussed earlier, get there when we do fail in the linear time frame that we have allotted for some victory, like 60 minutes in a basketball game.
I was like, everybody's going to turn off the show, because they were like, wait a minute, Dave just revealed that 90% of my effort's going to get me a quarter of the way to my goal. I don't think I'm going to keep going.
But I was thinking, because I've been fascinated with this concept of momentum recently for, I don't know, just thinking about it a lot. If my next big talk on stage, I'm going to do a talk on momentum. But one of the things that's interesting about momentum is it does require energy, right? And we talk about energy a lot on this show, but energy and propulsion happens in waves, right? There's like an energetic wave that occurs. And in a wave, you have like amplitude, you have the peak, but then you also have to have the trough in order for there to be a wave. And so I think a lot of times when they think about like forward progress or momentum, or I have all this momentum, in their minds, they expect that that's going to be all positive, all amplitude the whole way through. When in reality, if you want to push something forward and you need the energy to do it, it has to happen with peaks and valleys in order for that to gain momentum. And so I think that like reconciling that not everything is a peak, and that you don't need everything to be a peak in order to have momentum in your life, that there is going to be valleys, that there is going to be the slippery step, that there is going to be whatever it is. And that doesn't mean that you're moving backwards. It means that that's necessary in the energetic wave to move you forward.
Good stuff today. You guys are on fire as usual. I love it. Obviously, people can catch Dave at Augusta. What if people are not going to the Masters?
I'm not.
Where can they? But even if they're just coming to Augusta, how can they meet up with you?
Yeah, just email me is the easiest way I always get in contact with me, david@dmeltzer.com. I'll be in Augusta, then Nashville doing a VIP dinner and firewalk with Bucky O'Neill and Leah Notieri. Then I'll go to New York for the NASDAQ Mastermind, which is unbelievably blowing up, amazing. And then we go to Boston. I'm speaking there, doing a VIP dinner, and then going to Denver, speaking there, doing a VIP dinner, and then I'll return home to start back over again. I want to also remind people that May 14th, all three of us will be together at SoFi Stadium. So come to the SoFi Mastermind, the biggest and best stadium ever to be built. Remember, the bigger the stages, the bigger the people, the greater the access you have to the total addressable community. Get the experiences, the business development, and of course, the post-production content that can help facilitate your neighborhood, your momentum, your spheres of influence to help you have a community of people buying from you and selling for you for life. David@dmeltzer.com.
Likewise, don't forget, I believe there's one more spot, one more like legit full spot for the Masters experience. It was just something that came open last minute. Reach out to David for that. I also have one spot available for our upcoming Bourbon Nights. It's coming up in Wynnewood, Oklahoma. Lacey and I are launching off the Book Yourself Solid 90-day intensive coming up on April 1st. Check out our socials or email us if you want information on that. For everybody coming to Augusta, I will see you there. With my face isn't red in real life. Come out and see me in person and see how tan I am. Actually, Dave looks tan.
Tan I am. I like that. Tan I am.
All right, everybody. That's it for this week. Next week, Tuesdays, Get Book Solid. We are here to help you to get book solid. Thank you guys so much for being a part of our Tuesday morning. Tuesday. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to